Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Transcending Customer Experience with SugarServe. I'm Martin Schneider, Head of Corporate Strategy, and I'm here with Deepak Diolalekar. But before we begin, I just want to do a few quick housekeeping items. All attendees will be in listen-only mode. If you have questions at any time during the broadcast, either about the content or maybe with some audio issues, just place them in the questions box in the panel to your right, and we'll get to them. There will be a Q&A section around the content towards the end, but if there's any issues, we'll address them throughout the webinar. Also, we will be recording and making an archive available of this, so all registered attendees will get a copy link sent out to you guys this week. So with that, let's begin. As I said, I'm Martin. I have Deepak with me. We're here to talk about SugarServe because really, Serve is a great new product, and it really fills out our mission, right? What is our mission? At Sugar CRM, we're here to enable businesses to create customers for life with the world's first intelligent, no-touch customer experience platform. Now, if you're familiar with Sugar CRM, the company, you know that we've made a lot of changes recently in how we present our products to you and how they're delivered via the cloud. We have our Sugar Market, which really tackles that front part of the entire customer life cycle, really managing demand generation, lead scoring. We have our Sugar Sell, which manages the entirety of the sales. And SugarServe really fleshes out that post-sale and really one of the most important parts of the customer life cycle because it can be the most impactful to the customer experience, to customer satisfaction, to loyalty, to retention, and really to the bottom line in profits and revenue growth. So Deepak, why don't you kick us off with that? I mean, I think that's a good handoff to why Serve is so important and why we're diving into it today.
Very good. Thank you, Martin. We live in an experience economy. It is not sufficient just to have the best product in the marketplace. People are expecting that you augment your offering with impeccable customer experience around it. And studies have also shown that customers are actually even willing to pay for that experience, even though your product may not be the best in the marketplace. Now, Harvard Business Review did a study comparing two groups of companies. One group offered a superior customer experience as measured by the customer satisfaction score, and the other group did not do as well. And this is what they found. What they found was that in transaction-oriented business, repeat purchases from customers after 1 year of that initial purchase went up 140% in that group of companies that provided a better customer experience. And in subscription businesses, such as Sugar, there was a 74% higher probability of renewals compared to companies that did not provide that great customer experience. Now, customer service has always been considered a cost center in terms of productivity metrics and so on. But as you can see with this study, and there are numerous such studies that have shown that providing customer experiences, a better customer experience actually impacts the top line. And top performing companies take customer service and customer experience very seriously. So that's why customer experience, customer service are really important tenets of the overall experience to your customer. But it's not easy for everyone. There are challenges companies face in providing that great customer experience. There are some of them, not all. The first one is, agents don't have access to all the information, and you see something like, this is my third call, and customers have to repeat everything. And this not being able to respond on time. Many customers have SLAs, service level agreements, and to be able to meet those SLAs, you have to be able to respond on time, and that impacts customer experience greatly. Agent inefficiency is actually one of my favorite things. Every time we call our mortgage companies or credit card companies, you hear something like, my computer is very slow today, let me put you on hold. So that actually impacts customer experience greatly while you are still on hold. What the agent is actually doing is trying to gather that information, the past interaction, your details about your account, and so on and so forth. And that makes them very inefficient. Now, in order to provide a great customer experience, some amount of investment is needed. Some of it is technical, some of it is cultural. And customer experience is everybody's job in the company. It should never be an afterthought. So now we have established that customer experience is vital to your company's success. And customer service is an important ingredient of providing that great customer experience. we decided to build a product that will allow you to provide a great customer service to your customers and provide a great customer experience. But what is great customer service? Now, there are many answers to that. You empower your agents, have empathy, improve processes, better tools, systems, and there are lots of many reasons that what makes a great customer service. But we were looking for something that would guide us. We were looking for a North Star as we designed this product for customer service. And we looked at companies that are known for providing very good customer service. We are talking about Ritz-Carlton, Amazon, Trader Joe's, many different companies. All of them provide great customer service and for various different reasons. But there was one thing that stood out amongst all of these: least customer effort. And what I mean by that is that in these companies, when you are talking to them about a problem or a resolution or something, they make it really easy for you. And that's what makes a great customer service, making sure that your customers have the least customer effort. So with that as our North Star, we set out 3 objectives for SugarServe. We wanted to build a product that has improved the agent productivity, making them more efficient and effective. We wanted to build a product that will help you reduce the cost of your service. And the best way to actually reduce cost is actually to prevent a case from being created. So are there any opportunities for customers to resolve cases on their own? And finally, we wanted to make sure that the product that we build makes sure that your customers are highly satisfied, going back to that North Star notion of least customer effort. With that, I'm going to show you what SugarServe is. SugarServe is our new product. It launched a few months ago. It's available on the cloud. I'm going to show you what this product does and how you can use this to provide a great customer experience. We're going to look at the product from the lenses of 3 different people. Melissa is a service agent, and her job is to help customers resolve their questions, resolve their cases. And she can do that by interacting with them and even collaborating internally with the team. Adam is actually the administrator who will configure the business rules surrounding the support policies and procedures. Andrew is a customer who wants to look for a solution and check status on a case and also interact with the agent themselves. Now let's start with Melissa. Melissa is a customer service agent. She will log into the service console or the agent desktop, and she reviews the open cases, collaborates with the team, and interacts with customers. The service console actually has 2 parts to it. The first part is a dashboard that shows information about the agent's cases. The first row has 3 dashlets, and that shows information about actions that are needed today. The very first chart will show you a list of all open cases grouped by their follow-up date. We will talk about follow-up date in a bit. If there are cases that are past due for follow-up, they will show up on that specific date on that bar. Melissa can click on that bar and see which cases are due for a follow-up now. It shows all planned actions, like what are my meetings and calls for today. And if there are any tasks that I need to follow up on either my cases or somebody else's cases, they will show up on this dashlet as well. The second row shows information about all her open items. The pie chart shows all her open cases by status, so she can see her workload and what things she needs to work on. The second dashlet shows my recently viewed cases. These are cases that she's probably working on, and we can very easily quickly get to the relevant cases by clicking on that link. And finally, it shows my cases in the last week by status, that shows by status what cases she might be working on. And the last set of information is mostly informational. So the very first bar chart is open cases by user. So she can see all the open cases by the rest of her team, and you can see the relative workload. What are the cases resolved in this month by week? And that's a measure of my productivity. And I may have assigned tasks to other people in the organization as part of resolving cases for customer. The last chart here on the bottom right shows the status of all those tasks and who is it assigned to, so that she can quickly follow up and see what's the status on those tasks, so that she can determine when those cases will be resolved. So that's the first part of the service console. The second part of the service console is the desktop itself. This is where Melissa will be spending most of her day. The relevant case details are prominently listed, such as priority, the status, the customer name, and a brief description on the middle column as well. Now, you will also see a column called follow-up date, and the list of these open cases for Melissa are actually listed on the order of follow-up date. So what is follow-up date? The follow-up date is a calculation made by a business rule. For example, you may have a policy that high priority cases for tier 1 customers need to be followed within 8 business hours. Now, Sugar has a BPM engine, business process management, that applies the rule and calculates that follow-up date. This can be very easily changed in our Sugar BPM workflow engine. You can change the business rule according to your policies. Now, when you set the follow-up date, this list is then sorted by that follow-up date. So as a result, Melissa does not have to think which cases she should be working on. That decision was made by the business rule. As an example, the very first case on this list has a follow-up date that was 8 hours ago, and actually 3 days ago, and then that's something she needs to work on very quickly. So on the top, you will see 3 numbers, 8, 1, and 2. What that means is she has 8 cases that are overdue. 1 case is due in the next 24 hours, and there are about 2 cases that are due later. Now let's look at one of these cases. I'm going to click on one of the case, and a side drawer opens up. Now you will see more information related to the case. This is all the information that is needed for resolution. Anything related to the case information. So you can decide to include certain case level information such as description, where it came from, and so on. You can also have tabs within this dashlet, such as what tasks are open, who are the contacts, and this can be easily configured by you in our studio. On the second one, you will see account level details, such as who is the account and who is the salesperson, things like that. And then you can see some basic information. This can also be configured in our studio. On the right-hand side, you see something called comments log. Now, one of the most interesting features of this service console is the ability to collaborate within your organization. You can collaborate with others using the comments log. The comments log is primarily used to capture internal notes related to the case, but you can mention other team members in this note. For example, in the first note, this agent has tagged a person, Charles James. And what happens is when Charles logs into Sugar, he will get a notification that Melissa is looking for some help, and there will be a link to this case number 42. And when Charles responds similarly on that case, it actually shows up back here. This is a very powerful and very effective collaboration tool right within the console itself. And finally, on the bottom right, you see cases interactions. This dashlet shows all the interactions between the agent and the customer related to the case. Any other agent who picks up this case is aware of the entire history, and the customers don't have to repeat any information. And this history includes emails, notes, even calls and meetings. And when you expand that, you can see the details of that relevant email, or you can see the call summary information and so on as well. And when the agent wants to communicate with the customer, all they have to do is click on that little plus sign, and you can compose an email or even create a note or send an attachment. This note actually shows up on the self-service portal for the customer, which we will discuss in a few minutes. You can even log a call or schedule a meeting. So very powerful capability of all the work that the agent needs to do. You can see the case details, account details, collaborate internally, write notes, and also interact with the customer and see the entire interaction history. Now for supervisor, there is a slightly different view. You will see here, this is called the tile view. You can see all the cases by status, and you can filter to a specific agent as well. And then when you filter on that, you can drag and drop cases into various buckets. So as a supervisor, I have a macro view of all open cases, and then I can reassign them, I can move them around very easily. So let's summarize what the Service Console does. Service Console is aimed at significantly improving the agent productivity. never miss SLA. Cases are listed by SLA priority, so agent exactly knows what cases to work on because the business rule has already been determined by them. Consolidated details, all case and customer related details are in one screen, so you don't have to jump around screens, and that makes the agent much more efficient in resolving and looking at customer details. The Service Console allows internal collaboration and facilitate teamwork, and that helps resolve cases faster. And with the interaction history, there's a consolidated view, so customers don't have to repeat information. So if a customer calls for a third time, the agent knows exactly what transpired in the past so that they can start helping the customer from that point onwards. And that helps improve customer experience greatly. So that was Melissa's Service Console experience. Now let's switch gears. We will now talk about Adam, who is a CRM administrator. Adam's job is to set up the support center, set up the business rules, and also set up the knowledge base. Let's look at this one by one. There's a new concept in Sugar now called the Business Center, or you can also call it the Support Center, and you can set up multiple support centers. So for example, on this screen, I have set up the North America Support Center. I can specify what time zone it is in, and I can specify the business hours. So it's closed on Sunday, and on Monday it's open 24 hours, and on Tuesday it's open 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and on Saturday it is open 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. That's a very typical scenario maybe in some certain companies. You can set this up for any number of support centers. You can have 5 support centers around the world. You can have 10. You can have just one global support center. That's up to you on how you can configure that. You can also set up business holidays. So for example, for the North America, I have set up holidays like New Year's Day, Memorial Day, and so on and so forth. And where this is all useful is when you set up business rules. So here's an example of a business rule builder. This is a screenshot directly from Sugar BPM. And what I have set a business rule that says if the case priority is a high priority and the customer is a tier 1 customer, then we need to respond within 4 business hours whenever a new case comes in. This is for new cases. And BH is a business hour concept. What happens is that depending upon which business center this case is associated with or this customer is associated with, let's say a customer is associated with North America Support Center, it will take into account the business hours of North America. It will take into account the holidays and then apply that 4 business hours. So for example, if a case comes in at 9 a.m. in the morning on Monday, then you have to follow by 1 p.m. on that same day. That's 4 business hours. But what if a case comes in on a Friday at, let's say Saturday, Sunday is closed, and Friday I close at 5 p.m. and a case comes in at 4 p.m. I have only 1 hour left. So now 3 more hours on Monday morning, and if I open at 8, I have to respond by 11 a.m. on Monday. So that's the scenario of how business hours and holidays are used in calculating the follow-up date. Now on that Service Console, that list is sorted by the follow-up date. Depending upon your specific business rule, you can set up the rules as any configuration you want. You can add other conditions such as product types or some other, whether it's a channel partner case or not. You can have any kind of complex business rule. It will calculate the follow-up date, and that Service Console open cases will then be listed by that follow-up date. So the agents don't have to think about what cases should I work on. That's decided by this business rule. Now, how this business rule actually gets implemented is using our business processes. This is an example of a BPM flow. This is shipped with the product SugarServe. And this does a number of things, and we have extensive documentation, and you can totally configure this. So when a new case comes in, you can apply the new case SLA, which we discussed in the previous screen. It also does round robining of the case to your teams, and this can also be configured, and it then provides case details. Then it checks for SLAs, and when it is expired, it notifies the manager that an SLA has been missed, and so on and so forth. It also goes into things like whether a client has responded or not, and if there is no response, it waits for X number of days, and then it automatically closes the case. And all of this can be orchestrated with Sugar's BPM engine. BPM is business process management, and these are all available out of the box and can be very easily configured by your administrator. So these are some of the out of the box templates that we have included, SLA related, case routing, and also reassignment and changes in case priority, and notifying managers and agents about such changes. So very easy to configure in our BPM designer. You can easily set it up according to your policies and procedures. We also include a lot of analytics and reports as part of Sugar Serve. There are 60 plus out-of-the-box report templates, which you can very easily use and also configure them in our report designer. For example, you can see summary of cases by priority by week created. So you can see how many cases are coming in. You can check open cases by user by status. How many cases are getting resolved this month by support centers or business centers, and many other different kinds of reports. So all of these are available as part of Sugar Serve, and you can certainly use them to modify according to your objects and your customized fields and so on and so forth. Sugar also has a knowledge management tool. And with this knowledge management tool, you can set up different kinds of articles, FAQs, tutorials, documentation. You can categorize them in any way, and you can set effective dates as well. So you can see some of them are expired. So you might want to have, let's say, a recall notice or something that expires within 30 days. It automatically disappears from the knowledge base after that effective date. We also have a very rich text editor to configure your knowledge. So you can include hyperlinks, you can include images, you can also include language versions of the same article, and depending upon the language preferences, certain specific language articles will then show up. Agents and customers can also rank the usefulness of the articles, and that actually shows up on the right-hand side as well. So a lot of rich capabilities in the knowledge management aspects of it. You can draft, you can suggest articles for inclusion by the agent, and this can also be set up for the self-service portal, which I will show in just a moment. And agents can search for any kind of knowledge using our very powerful global search capability. And once you do that, you can search for any kind of content. And that also helps resolve cases faster because you can find relevant information about knowledge very easily. So let's summarize. What can an admin do? Admins can set up local SLAs for multiple business centers. You can set up business hours, the time zone, and holidays, and use that to configure your local SLA rules. You can create very simple to complex SLA rules. You can set up routing rules, how to route the cases to the next available agents, set up notifications, such as if you missed SLAs or a follow-up, who do we send the notification to? You can customize the reports, use the out-of-the-box reports, or just make your own. You can also create a knowledge repository, which allows for faster searching for resolution. So that's from an admin's perspective. Now let's look at, from a customer perspective, what can they do with Sugar Serve? So Andrew is a customer. Andrew wants to research an issue and tries to resolve on their own, and maybe even open a case. So let's log in. So Andrew is going to log into the portal, and you can customize the portal according to your branding. You can have your own logo. You can have change some color schemes as well according to your branding. So I'm going to log into to the portal as Andrew. And the first thing Andrew will see is some dashlet. It will show me all the open cases for my company. It shows all the recently resolved cases so that I can quickly get to them. It also shows me all the knowledge articles available. Now, I mentioned knowledge articles. You can also set knowledge articles to be shown on the portal. So not all articles need to be shown on the portal, only certain ones, because some articles may be internal articles for your agents. So you can set that up as well. But the most important thing for Andrew is the ability to search for content. So for example, Andrew is looking for some help around, let's say, email templates. And what happens is when Andrew types in email template, it actually shows all the content that's available to Andrew that's for external consumption. And if Andrew finds a relevant article, he can click on that relevant article, and then it actually shows all the steps Andrew needs, and maybe Andrew is satisfied that he doesn't need to open a case, which means a case has been successfully deflected, and that significantly reduces the cost of service. Now, if Andrew is in a certain case is not happy with any of the content, he can always click on create a case. And when you click on create a case, it actually opens the case's record view, and then you can enter the case. As you can see, the subject is automatically populated from that search term, and Andrew can then add some more description to it. What happens now is a new case is created, and in the backend system now, the SLA rule is applied from that Sugar's BPM engine, and it routes to a specific agent as well. And that agent can then, respond to the customer. Andrew can also include attachments. So here's a link to adding a note. So when you click on add a note, it allows you to provide a brief description. For example, I want to attach a screenshot or send a copy of my latest bill that has some error or anything. I can just attach a file and then send it. And this file shows up for Andrew on the self-service portal right here, but it also shows up for the customer service agent for this case, so they know exactly what was included in the note itself. So this is a very powerful way of communicating with the agent and so on. So let's summarize. So on the self-service portal, customer can search for knowledge so that they can find resolution on their own. They can manage their open cases and check the status of each one of them. They can open a case, and which allows them to open a case directly from the portal without having to make a phone call. And they can communicate with the agents using the note feature and also include attachments to it. And this kind of self-service also impacts customer experience greatly. So this is an example of how self-service can help provide that great customer experience. So let's do a recap of Sugar Serve. So we talked a little bit about the agent desktop, or the service console as we call it here. And in this service console, the agent is highly efficient and effective because it knows what cases to respond based on the business rules and the SLAs that have been set up. And it has all the information related to the case, the account, the past interactions, and the internal notes all in one screen. So you don't have to hunt around for information. We talked about service level agreements. You can configure the service level agreements according to your business processes and policies. We have support for multiple support centers. You can have multiple support centers, for example, an America support center, EMEA, Asia Pac, any kind of support centers. We talked a little bit about self-service portal, where customers can do their own search on the content. They can find resolution on their own and deflect a case, and also manage cases, open a case, interact with an agent, and include attachments. We saw on the service console there was an interaction history where customers don't have to repeat information because the entire history is captured and it can all be seen on one screen, and agent can quickly get context. And agent can also collaborate internally with other team members. We also ship out-of-the-box BPM templates that you can easily configure according to your policies and procedures. We have a very rich knowledge management tool where you can add very rich knowledge articles that includes images, content, hyperlinks, and in multiple languages, and you can make them available for portal use, or you can make them available for internal agent use as well. And we ship out of the box 60+ reports for your analytics so that you can manage the entire customer service processes and make sure that your team is efficient and effective. So we will jump into the Q&A. Just to summarize, we live in an experience economy, and providing a great customer experience is vital to your top line. And customer service is an important ingredient of customer experience. And with Sugar Serve, you will now be able to provide a great customer experience. Martin,
right,
back to you.
Thanks, Deepak, and thanks for that deep dive into Serve. That was awesome. Got a few questions here. We'll go through these. I think we should have time to get through every one in the time allotted. First one is, So Red, SugarServe won't be working with an on-site installation of Sugar Enterprise. First, let's clarify that, how that works. And says, will some of the features that are additional to a classic Sugar installation, like Service Console, be made available for on-site customers? So kind of talk about how this works with maybe existing customers as a cloud product, what the kind of roadmap is for availability, things like that.
Yeah. So SugarServe as well as SugarCell, which is also the other product we have, are both available only on our cloud installations. At the moment, we don't have plans to add the specific capabilities that I showed here on the on-site thing. There will be other very important changes on the on-site versions of the Enterprise as well as Pro, and we will be, communicating that separately.
Gotcha. But to be sure, people could theoretically be running an Enterprise on site, but also still use Serve.
Oh yes, we can do that.
Okay, great. And I think what's important to note is beyond just some of the great UX features that we showed, there's a lot of really cool analytics and AI that we're building out as part of our customer data platform in our cloud backend. So I think that there's some really interesting things that that the people get as a cloud solution, where even if they're using them in tandem with what's called a legacy Sugar deployment, they're going to get benefits that go far and above all that, as well.
Absolutely.
Great. Interesting. You talked a bit about self-service and the portal as well as the knowledge base. Is there a report or a mechanism to measure how many cases or issues were diverted as a result of the knowledge base article? How did you go about setting something like that up with Serve?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. We are actually working on that, and it should be available in one of our upcoming releases very soon. Is some more detailed analytics around the search. So what kind of searches are coming up? What are the common searches? How many cases are getting created as a result of the search? And also, how many results are getting returned? So that's something we are already actively working on.
And thinking of things like, was this useful to you, and we'll have those features and things like that.
So usefulness is already included as part of SugarServe. We already have some reports and some metrics related to that.
Yeah, it seems like we can kind of triangulate that through the system today. Yeah. So it's something you could figure out, right? Now, is there a limit to the number of my customers that we can assist using Serve?
Number of customers? No, there is no limit.
We have no limit to cases, no limit to amount of customers listed as a contact that might be someone who could log a case. I mean, that kind of idea, right? We don't limit that, right?
No, there is no limit.
Okay, great. Another question, might even want to talk about Sugar Identity a bit here, but are there single sign-on options?
Well, yes, there are, and we also have our own identity solution as well, and that's also part of the product.
Great. Now, I think this is probably talking more about. We might want to talk about this on the general side of Serve licensing as well as the portal, because the question could be talking about either. How do logins work for customers versus employees? Are they license based? I'm assuming it's the portal, but let's be clear across the whole thing.
Okay, so yeah, SugarServe obviously is for your agents, your employees. So there is a per seat license-based pricing, and it's actually listed on the website. For customers also, in terms of portal logins, there is a pricing, and we can talk to you about. Obviously there's a different pricing for customers using the portal, and I think there is I actually don't remember the pricing at the top of my head, but I think it's on the website somewhere. But we can talk about that with you.
Exactly. Yeah. Are the interactions listed in the history only those related to the call center, or does it include some that could be listed in CRM or other systems?
Oh, you can configure it very easily to include any interactions, not just those from the call center. So, for example, the call center maybe log in the phone calls and any transcription-related stuff which you can see. But if you have a separate email system, as long as you can relate the interaction to the case, it will be listed on that interaction history.
Good.
I also did not mention that we also have a concept of a case macro, which means that if you respond to a customer with a case on an email and you include the case number on the subject line, and when a customer responds back to that email, it automatically gets associated with that case. So you don't have to manually associate. So that also shows up in the interaction history.
Great. Kind of a similar question, but from a little bit different bent. How would you integrate with back-end systems, so thinking of ERP and other items, to map data to case fields to help the agent experience, guessing purchase history, things like that?
Sugar has a very extensive integration framework, which allows you to integrate with any application on the back end. Once you integrate with, so let's take an example. Let's say there's a purchase database somewhere in your ERP, and you want some of those products that have been purchased to surface up in the cases module or in the customer module. That's very easy to do. And we also have some frameworks where you can display that information right there on the cases module as well. So there are many different frameworks that we can offer you of how you integrate. One of the big reasons customers really buy Sugar is the ability to integrate with other systems and surface that information into Sugar.
Right. What is the max number, another one about kind of limits around users, what is the max number of internal users, technical support staff, of the system? With it being a month old, how much real stress testing was done prior to release? I guess saying what's the scalability of Serve?
Well, so Sugar Serve is obviously a cloud-based system, so we have done extensive testing around scaling and how we can do concurrent usage and so on. There is no max number. One of the world's largest CRM implementation happens to be on the Sugar Cloud. I'm not supposed to say the name of the company, but it's over 100,000 CRM users. So we know that it has been stress tested quite a bit. We have very large customers who use this on our cloud, and we have no issues. And it's adaptive and it's very scalable.
Do you use APIs for integration, and do you have API limits? I know a lot of our competitors out there limit how many API calls you can make, maybe in a 24-hour period or to an account. Want to talk a bit about our APIs around that?
Sure. We do have APIs, and a lot of our customers actually use our APIs with their own front end sometimes to use it for our back end integration as well. On our website, you can actually see extensive documentation on our APIs. I believe it is support.sugarcrm.com, and from there you can find out any APIs.
Type in web services, you find a good whole bunch of chapters.
So like, for example, if you want a list of records or you want to update a record or create a new record, very easy to use the API framework. In terms of API limits, it should be listed on the website. I don't remember at the top of my head, but I think it's pretty generous.
Yeah, it's not. Our limits are typically not around volume. There's like one or two little things that we limit, versus some of our competitors have literally entire books about the limits on the APIs, both from volume, both from what you can integrate with, what you can pull from and to. One of the most open and extensible APIs on the market, I would argue. Yeah. A couple more quick questions. Can an agent open multiple cases at the same time, like in a tabular nature? Maybe they are the same customer, from the same customer, you work in multiple cases. How does that work in the Service Console?
Yes, you can obviously open multiple tabs in the browser. That's the easy answer. Within the Service Console itself, what you can do is, in one of the screenshots I showed, we had tabs within the case itself. So you can actually create a tab for cases themselves. And as long as you relate the case to the case, so let's say I'm working on case number 36 and 51 and 52 are related cases, they will show up as a list. And then you have to click on that to that related cases, and it can be opened up in multiple tabs as well. So there are a few ways right now, but obviously we'll keep improving on that.
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, a lot of great questions. Here's an interesting one. I mean, now that we're in the multiple product business, and people can be using different sales with Serve, how well do we integrate with other CRM systems?
We can use our API framework, which is available on our website, very easily to integrate with other systems as well. We have quite a few customers who use one product for one part of their business and another product for another part of their business. And they interoperate very easily. So there are different frameworks available. So you can copy the data, you can do dynamic API calls. So different depending upon the use case, there is. All I can say right now is that we have APIs available to get data from, and from CRM, from Sugar CRM, and getting it into Sugar CRM.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's not just about Serve as well. I mean, just to kind of create give a little anecdotal example. When we created Sugar Market, right, and that came from a little bit of that, a lot of that was from an acquisition. We continue to keep the integrations to other CRM systems for that marketing automation product available. So whether that's Serve integrating with other sales systems, whether that's Market integrating with other sales and support systems, or Sell integrating with other support systems, we believe in a best-of-breed approach if people want to take that and the right to choose and to have control. So those APIs will always be available regardless of what systems you're using.
And we also have a very extensive partner ecosystem that have also created many different kinds of integration. And if you look at Sugar Exchange, that's our partner portal, you can see a lot of other kinds of integrations with other systems. And not just CRM system, but also like accounting systems like NetSuite. You'll see a lot of examples of partners who have done that.
Great. A couple more quick ones. Can the dashboard that was shown at the beginning of the demo be configured or customized, or is that out of the box?
That's out of the box, and it can be configured to a certain extent. You can certainly decide what case information to show, what account information to show, and it can. There is some level of configuration. It's already available.
Great. From a call center solutions perspective, are there any that work well or don't work with Serve that we want to mention right now?
When we say call center solutions, we are simply talking about like contact center,
telephony, contact center,
like Genesys, and
absolutely,
yeah. No, we actually have customers who use it all the time, and we have customers who use Pure Cloud. We have customers who use. We have partners like who have CTI integrations with all of the major call center solutions, and we have screen pop-ups that show up with SugarServe, and even in the legacy enterprise world as well. So that's already working, and you can actually see some of those in our partner Sugar Exchange as well.
Yeah, I mean, Avaya, Cisco, NICE inContact. The great thing about being a cloud solution is that web service API makes it really easy to push the telephony into the system and kind of vice versa. So really, really
I don't think there is anything that will not work with Serve, as long as there are integrations available that allows you to do a screen pops and so on.
Yeah, as long as it's software based, yeah.
It should work, yeah.
Okay, one more. Can there be routing to agents based on where the email is coming from? We can talk a bit about that with business centers, or text in the subject, text in the email body. Didn't see that part in the demo, so maybe some more contextual routing.
If you can figure out where an email came from, then yes, you can set up multiple email addresses like support North America, support LATAM, and you can then use the from email address field, the to email address field in the Sugar BPM to route to the right teams. That can be done very easily today, and we can show some examples of how it can be done. In terms of text in the email body and text in the subject, we have certain things that we can do with the text in the subject. Email body is something we are working on right now.
There's a number of our partners, for example, that can do things today using, for example, Amazon Comprehend, where they could understand some information as well and route from there.
Yeah.
So there's ways to do it, not necessarily out of the box, but we're getting closer to that. And the great thing about SugarServe is it's a cloud product, so every 90 days we'll be adding great features and great capabilities, and that's the beauty of the cloud and our seasonal release model. Okay, we're just about at time, and I think we've gotten almost all the questions. If your question was not answered, we'll answer it over email, and if it was, thank you for asking it. There were a lot of great questions. Deepak, thank you for giving us that in-depth overview. If you are interested in trying Serve out for yourself, you can go to sugarcrm.com/trysugar, or just go to our website. You'll find a free trial. If you're already a Sugar customer, you can talk to your partner or your Sugar rep or sales@sugarcrm.com to get started adding Serve to your deployment. Again, thank you all for the great questions. Thanks for attending. We will send out the replay later this week, but as always, we really appreciate you guys taking the time. We'll see you soon.